The right of contribution allows a joint tortfeasor who satisfied a common judgment in favor of an injured plaintiff to seek payment from his fellow tortfeasors to recover the amount of damages he paid over his share of the fault. But what happens if one of the tortfeasors from whom contribution is sought is immune from tort liability to the injured plaintiff? The court addressed this question in the 1950 case of Yellow Cab Company of D.C. v. Dreslin. A car being driven by John Dreslin collided with one of Yellow Cab's taxis, injuring Mr. Dreslin's wife and other passengers in Mr. Dreslin's car. Mrs. Dreslin and the other passengers sued Yellow Cab in federal district court, seeking damages for their injuries. Mr. Dreslin also joined the action as a plaintiff, asserting claims for Mrs. Dreslin's medical expenses, loss of consortium, and damage to his car. Yellow Cab alleged that Mr. Dreslin had been contributorily negligent and cross-claimed against him for damage to the taxi. Yellow Cab also sought contribution from Mr. Dreslin for any amounts that the other plaintiffs recovered from Yellow Cab. At trial, the jury found that the accident was caused by the concurrent negligence of both Mr. Dreslin and the taxi driver in operating their vehicles. The court therefore entered judgments against Yellow Cab in favor of all of the plaintiffs except for Mr. Dreslin. The court also issued a declaratory judgment allowing Yellow Cab to obtain contribution from Mr. Dreslin on all of the judgments against Yellow Cab except for the judgment in Mrs. Dreslin's favor. The court explained that the right to contribution arises from joint liability between tortfeasors. However, at common law, spouses weren't able to maintain tort actions against each other. Because Mr. Dreslin couldn't have tort liability to his wife, Mr. Dreslin and Yellow Cab weren't jointly liable to her, and thus there was no right to contribution. Yellow Cab appealed to the D.C. Circuit, challenging the court's refusal to allow contribution on Mrs. Dreslin's judgment.